Fantastic. Thanks, everybody. Go ahead and kick this off with training. I'm assuming you're Marissa?
I am.
Fantastic. Nice to meet you, Marissa. We will go ahead and jump straight into training, and from there we will kick off on a normal routine for the Tuesday night meeting. So
Awesome.
take us away.
I am Marissa Ginger. I'm the Environmental Health Specialist with Elbert County Department of Public Health and Environment. Just a little overview of a couple of the programs that I manage as the EHS. I oversee the on-site wastewater treatment system program, the retail food program, which is basically any place that sells food for profit. So grocery stores, convenience stores, restaurants, food trucks, and then I also do inspections on the school cafeterias. I also do inspections for the schools and the child care programs in Elbert County. So I wear a lot of hats. They call me a generalist. Most counties have specific inspectors for each program, but here in Elbert County, we are small and we are growing, so hopefully I will be able to get some help in the future, but kind of wear a lot of different hats. I understand that there was some want for clarification based on what the LPHA, the local public health department, reviews versus what CDPHE reviews when it comes to various land use referrals. We kind of can have overlap depending on certain situations, but mainly I want eyes on any new businesses that are coming into the county that are selling food, on-site wastewater treatment systems under 2,000 gallons per day. That is what I oversee. Anything over 2,000 gallons per day is permitted by the state. I do like to see the change in use of properties, and then the variances for property line setbacks, rezoning of existing properties, and then the rezoning of the existing parcels to be split into smaller acre parcels. When I'm reviewing these projects for retail food, I like to be sure that they're following all the proper licensing protocol, making sure that all their kitchen requirements are up to code. I usually do a plan review with the operator and make sure that they are aware of the retail food regulations. As far as when it comes to changes in uses of properties or rezoning or minor plats, I don't really know the verbiage, so I apologize. I don't know all the different things that you guys call them, but when I'm reviewing those, I like to bring up to the homeowners being aware of where their septic systems are in relation to if they are subdividing. I am seeing more and more often, not tons, but I've gotten probably 3 calls within the past year of, hey, I bought this property, the previous landowner subdivided this property, and come to find out our leach field is on the portion that they subdivided off. So now I have a current homeowner that's leach field is on the parcel that they split. I'm not sure, I actually don't think that the health department was ever involved in previous subdividing processes, which it's just a learning experience for everybody. And it's an easy fix. We just have them sign an easement agreement saying we allow the neighbor to keep it here, and then if and when it does fail, it has to be moved back onto their property line. So I just make sure that everybody's aware of where their systems are, and then making sure that they are not splitting a portion of their septic system off. And then another thing that I like to review is that I want to make sure that I have files on these existing septic systems. Believe it or not, there are some properties where we have 0 files. So if this property does come across my desk, I may ask the homeowner, hey, I need you to actually get an inspection done of your septic system so that we can get a location of where this is located on your property. I know back back in the day before there was good record keeping, I think things were kept on paper, and I know that there was a fire in a building, and then there was a flood, and some records got lost. So it's not a surprise when we don't have any files, even though homeowners like to be like, what do you mean there's nothing on my property? You don't have anything? So in certain instances, I might require that. And then another thing that we do just like to review is just various environmental reviews. The one thing that the one case I'm thinking of is the Phantom Creek. The fact that used to be a gun range, and Stacy, when she was reviewing that, she was like, hey, if they're gonna be building and we're gonna have people living out here, we need to have the soil tested for, I think it was lead, like the lead exposure that was there. So just different instances that we like to have eyes on certain things, depending on the situation. CDPHE, they oversee any septic systems that are over 2,000 gallons per day. We don't have very many of them out here because typically the operators try to finagle a way to get around that 2,000 gallons per day. Kiowa Adventure Park, they were able to get it down to 1,995 gallons per day for all of their RV spots up there, and they actually did split that into 2 different septic systems, but they got away from the state permitting, so it's under us. And then CDPHE also has oversight on the metropolitan water and wastewater sanitation districts. So a lot of these developments that are going up, they still get sent to my department. I still like to have eyes on them, and I do kind of a quick overview, but I do just double check to make sure that they're in the process of getting approval from CDPHE. Anybody have any questions? Okay. Another thing I just wanted to touch on, I know that there's probably going to be some talk regarding lot size, minimum lot sizes for septic systems. Previously, I don't know if there was any requirements for lot sizes, but I know that in 2020, I think that we rolled out the requirement of 10 acres for a individual lot in an individual septic system. And then a community well and a septic system is 5 acres. I think that is very important. We have some subdivisions that were, I don't know what the review process was, obviously, because I was not here, but we have a couple of neighborhoods out here that range from 0.30 to 0.5 acre lots. So less than an acre, and they're on a septic system. And now that these systems are failing, because they do fail over time, after 30 to 50 years, a septic system is going to be used and can fail, running into a lot of issues with where to replace and put a new leach field. Specifically, I have listed the Gamble Oaks neighborhood and Overland Estates. Overland Estates does have a little bit bigger lot sizes, but if you are driving on 86 and you see Overland Estates on the right-hand side, you can see observation ports outside of the fence. So that is an indication that their septic systems are not on their property lines. They are outside of it due to their A, small lot sizes, or B, a previous system failed and they had nowhere else to put it. So I just highly want to stress the importance of keeping the lot sizes bigger to allow for the repair of a system if and when it does fail. I was discussing with Jennifer lowering them down to 5 acres, which I think would be okay. I think we started with bigger to just ensure safety, but to me, when it comes to septic systems, bigger is always better, because then the homeowners can have a basic gravity-fed system. When we go to smaller lot sizes, engineering is involved, and the smaller the septic field is, the more kind of components, bells and whistles, treatment is required for those types of systems.
So I've seen some septic systems that they look like their leach field is force fed or it's gravity fed, but there's two segments to their leach field. Specifically in my neighborhood, I know one, and the reason why I said force fed is because at one point we walked by a house that had water shooting out the observation ports, and it was like, this was probably within 20 feet of a meter pit for water.
Yeah.
And so it's like, this is probably not good across the board. Is that something where we can call you or somebody should call you and you would note it or
Yep.
take care of it?
Yeah, I get calls all the time. Hey, I think my neighbor's leach field is struggling. I see puddles and it's now draining down into my arena or over by whatever it is. Then we would contact them and say, hey, it appears your leach field is not doing its job. It's not accepting effluent anymore, because that's what happens over time is the soil becomes too saturated and that the effluent isn't able to disperse into the leach field and do its job. And it could be a number of different things. It's an indication when it is overflowing out of those observation ports that something isn't right. Depending on their type of system, you can adjust different things in a distribution box. Maybe two of these trenches are getting majority of the effluent, and they can adjust this box to where it'll leave off going to these two trenches that are taking it all and then disperse into the other trenches. So there's options. It's not an automatic, this has failed, but we will contact the homeowners and say, hey, you got to get an inspection company out there. They need to assess your leach field and provide us documentation that A, it is functioning, or B, it needs some corrections made. But yeah, I get calls quite frequently, unfortunately. And some people, that's another thing out here that I really am I try to stress and educate homeowners, and I try to get with the real estate agents of, it's really your guys' job, the real estate agent's job to set the buyers up for success. Hey, you guys are on something different. It's not city sewer, but people, they get this whole stack of papers and they don't read through what it is. They don't read through how to maintain their septic systems. They flush their toilet, it's gone, it's not a problem for them. And then they're getting back up in their house 5 years later because they haven't pumped. And they have tons of kids in there and they're doing laundry all day, every day on Sunday. So there's just different things for education that I'm really trying to put out there. I did hold a educational seminar for real estate agents and homeowners. I held that about 2 years ago, and I sent out 1,500 postcards targeting houses on septic systems, targeting all the real estate agents, and I got 22 people that showed up. So it's like, I'm trying to educate, but again, I can only do so much if people don't want to learn, or real estate agents, yeah, it is what it is. It's a struggle. So this just kind of goes over the process of obtaining a new system septic permit. The first thing that homeowners or builders have to do is they need to get a soils test conducted in the location of where the leach field is going to be. It doesn't need to be in the exact area. I allow for 100 feet within where those test pits are dug. The test pits are 2 8-foot test pits that are dug with an excavator, and then the soil sample is collected and it's sent to an engineer or a qualified soil analyst person. They assess the soil, they determine what type of soil it is. If the soil type is good or absorbent soil, then I can design the system free of charge. It's just a basic gravity-fed system. So soil types with a long-term absorption rate of 0.35 or higher, there's no engineered design required. If the soil type is bad or non-absorbent, then the system has to be designed by an engineer. And these are going to be like our clay type soils that are not going to absorb effluent very well. The engineered systems are typically dosed, so they are on a pump system and they slowly get time dosed into the soil, so we're not hitting it all at a gravity flow. Once they get the soils test results and or design, if it's required, they can complete the septic application and send it into the health department. Septic systems are required to be installed by a licensed septic installer. We have a list of about 50 to 60 installers out here in Elbert County. We have probably 10 to 15 that do a lot of work out here, and then we get the 1 to 20 companies that get licensed to do one job for their friend.
Is that a one and done, or is it one and anytime you do a major change? So if the septic fails, you have to do a new permit, et cetera.
Yep, so the new system permit is for a new build, for a new home. If your septic system, if your leach field fails in 20 years, then you will have to pull a repair permit, a field permit, and you will have to get a soils test completed again in a different location, because there are certain setbacks that have to be met from a failing leach field. Same thing with the tank, if tanks do deteriorate over time. So if a tank is failing, then they'll have to pull a tank permit, properly abandon that existing tank and get a new tank installed. And we also do have what's called a use permit program out here in Elbert County. So prior to selling a home, the system has to be inspected by a licensed inspection company to protect the buyers so they aren't buying a home with a failed septic system. There's still some counties that don't have a use permit program, and it just blows my mind because a lot of some buyers are buying houses and then they come to find out that their septic system is failing, and repairs are very expensive now. After the permit is issued, I process permits every Monday. I just threw this kind of stuff in here for education. Some people will pull the septic permit like first on their building department list, and then they have many other items, and the septic permit expires before they've even gotten their building permit. So I like to let people know I issue permits every Monday. It's a pretty quick turnaround time, so if you have other things on your list, get those things done. That may take longer than me issuing the permit. Septic system is installed, and then I go out and inspect it before they bury all the components. I go out and I make sure that proper fall is met. I make sure the tank is set level, make sure they have proper amount of infiltrators in the leach field, if that's the type of system they're using. Give the installer the okay to cover it up. And then the final component of that is the installer has to provide me a drawing of where the septic system was installed. That gets filed. And if it's designed by an engineer, then the engineer also has to go out and inspect and provide his final sign-off. The drawings set people up for success, because when you need your tank pumped, the pumping company needs to know where they're going. Everything should be installed to grade, but over time, things erode, things get buried. So when we have these drawings, it really helps them know where they're going. And then this is just education. We don't have to go through this by any means. I know it sounds like you're on a septic system at least, but I don't know if any of you guys are open to learning about what a septic system is. Okay.
Anybody not on a septic system?
I never know, because you'd be surprised at how many people we're getting a lot, not to talk bad, but we're getting a lot of city slickers that are coming out here, and they're living out here and they don't know what it is. So all of this stuff is on our website, on the health department's page. I do have homeowner guidance and just little things to remind homeowners of proper care of their system. You'd be surprised at some of the inspection reports I read of what gets flushed down a toilet. But yeah, that's what I've got. Does anyone have any questions? Yeah.
Has there been much change, especially with engineered system? Have there been many advancements in recent years, or are they essentially using the same, like, engineered technology and the same basic technology that for, decades?
So, the OG septic system is a rock and pipe system. That's what you do, that's what they used to do when you could do gravity fed. So they have their manifolds that have pipes that have holes drilled in them, and then they lay down a bed of rock. They let that rock be that absorption, that infiltrative surface. Many of the installers that have been out here, they swear up and down, rock and pipe, that's the way to go. It's cheap, it's just literally rock and pipe. Those are the components along with the tank. There have been a lot of advancements, and there are quite a few manufacturing companies that are really pushing their materials and their things to the state, and it's kind of hard because they are more expensive, and some people, they say that they fail more often than others, but if it's the engineers recommending that these new components be installed, then, and the homeowners don't do their research, they just kind of trust the expert, then they just do it and they spend the money. Infiltrators are that's the new infiltrative surface. They're little black, they're like half moon black plastic things, but that gets laid in the field on top of the soil, and that's just what the infiltrative surface is. We have seen a lot of push for more components, like just engineered systems involve way more components. Not to say that they don't work, but it's a lot more on the homeowners. When we get these these systems that require homeowners to rotate their valves quarterly, where they have 2 valves on in their leach field and the rest off, that's awesome because you're allowing these trenches to rest. But it's then on the homeowner to quarterly go turn off those valves and then rotate to the new valves to allow it to disperse. So there's definitely been a push for more higher level treatment, more engineering, more bells and whistles per se, but I also understand why the installers want to stick to the old school rock and pipe because it's very basic and it doesn't require a lot of maintenance from homeowners. We can barely get our homeowners to pump their tanks.
I was going to say, I think when people have done 10, 15 years, it's just like, it's 400 bucks.
Yeah. And then they love to tell me, oh, well, I have this additive that I pour into my tank every year and it eats it. And I'm like, don't tell me that, because we want to let the septic tank do its job. We want to let the bacteria in there kill off and eat away that stuff. And it's actually crazy when COVID was a thing, a lot of the inspection reports were saying that there was no bacteria growth in the tanks, and it was due to the antibacterial laundry detergent and the antibacterial hand soaps and all of the things that have antibacterial components now in them. They're killing off that good bacteria that we need in our tanks. So
shifting gears a little bit, is there a rule of thumb on how to determine the gallons per minute or gallons flow for gallons per day, I guess, for the wastewater treatment facility?
Yep. So septic systems are designed based on the number of bedrooms in a home. So
Sure.
Each bedroom is counted as a person. So they consider bedrooms as people until you get up to I think it's 5 bedrooms or more, then they go down to, that may not be a person actually in that room, it's a guest room, but it's 75 gallons a day per bedroom. So if you have a 3-bedroom house, you produce 450 gallons per day of wastewater. That's the state's rule of thumb. And then once, I think it's 4 or more bedrooms, then it goes down, they lower that amount to 1 person per room But yeah, that's all written out in the regs. That's the calculation that they came up with. But yeah.
I had to do quick math. I was looking at, my neighborhood, which is all septic, but probably should qualify for a central wastewater treatment facility. And it's like pretty close to 80,000 gallons per day. It's like, wow, okay.
For all of the homes.
Yeah, for all.
Yeah. Yeah, and that's the other thing. I don't know who was reviewing things back in before my time, but there are a handful of neighborhoods out here that definitely should have been on centralized wastewater treatment. The two that are just like my arch nemesis are Gamble Oaks and Overland Estates. I dread anytime I see those reports because setbacks aren't met and it's our nightmare. But we're working through it and we just do what we can.
Any other questions? Well, thank you very much. I appreciate your time and
Thanks for having me.
very informative. Thank you.
I didn't realize this. So I do have one final question. So you're saying that there is no, that Elbert County does not have a defined property limit in terms of what would be septic required or not. Did I understand that correctly? In the very beginning?
So I can answer that question. So now there is a standard where if you're on basically individual septic and an individual well for your property, our requirement in Elbert County is 10 acres. In the past, there are older subdivisions that might have 1 acre, like she was showing with Gamble Oaks. They have, quarter to half acre lots that had individual septic and well. So now there's a standard, but before there was not.
And they have, the biggest thing is there's no access to town sewer. That if there is a way for them to connect to town sewer, then they do not get a septic system installed. They have to tie into town sewer.
Has there been any discussion to change that and reduce that to 5 acres? Yes. Which
Yeah.
seems reasonable.
Yep, that's what we were literally like 2 weeks ago, they presented that to me of, hey, I think we can dial it back and get down to the 5 acres. What's your thoughts on that? And in discussing with other counties, I think I feel comfortable going down to an individual well, an individual septic at 5 acres. And then if they're on a shared well or community well, individual septic, 2.5 acres.
So that's being considered then?
Yes.
Okay, thank you.
Yep. Thank you guys for having me. Let me know if you have any questions. I have some of my business cards that I'll leave up here if you guys ever need to reach out or have questions, or if you want a copy of your septic map, feel free to email me. That is one thing I am working on, is getting our septic maps uploaded onto the Elbert County website under the assessor so that people can obtain copies of that and the pumping companies can pull those records themselves. I'm like the only county that doesn't have that. So that's my number one. That was my big project that I wanted to handle this year. So thanks again.
Thank you so much.
Yes.
Thanks, Marissa. Take care.
I think you have this on your agenda. It's the Colorado Wildfire Resiliency Code. So I'm going to give you kind of a high-level presentation of what that is and why it's in front of you. I'll spare you some of the details because I'm not really a building official. But I do know legally why we're here.
Wait, we don't spare people. It's just not in our nature.
Fair enough. I'll just spare you actual knowledge.
Go ahead and start the meeting.
Yeah, we have
Take roll, okay.
formality.
Yep.
Are we okay with that?
So with our training complete and we are now we'll officially call this meeting to order at 6:30:28. And with that, we'll do a prayer and the pledge. So if you don't mind. Heavenly Father, as we gather today for this Planning Commission meeting, we humbly ask for your guidance and wisdom in our deliberations. Grant us discernment to see the needs of our community clearly and the foresight to make decisions that promote responsible development while honoring the character of our county. May our discussions be respectful, thoughtful, and focused on the greater good. Help us to listen attentively to all perspectives, weigh options with fairness, and ultimately choose what is best for the future of our community. We thank you for your presence with us and ask for you to bless our work today. Amen.
Amen. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
And can we do a roll call?
Roll call. Dan Guthrie. Dan Guthrie. Absent. Ken Madsen.
Here.
Dan McCallan. Here. Kyle DiNardo. Present. Nicole Hunt. Nicole Hunt. Absent. John Gresham. John Gresham. Absent. Dee Dee Schott Grace. Dee Dee Schott Grace. Absent. Robert Politik.
Here.
Kevin Kirkwood.
Present.
Chairman, you have a quorum with 5.
Thank you. With that, can we get a staff report?
Yes, sir. Good evening, Commissioners. I don't have any official Board of County Commissioners business to report to you. However, if you would give me just a couple of minutes, I did want to update you all or show you our new public notice signs. Well, we're using a new vendor. They're a little bit stronger, and we have switched our signs from being all yellow to 3 different colors for the 3 different types of notice signs that we have. So I was just going to show you those real quick. If you see one out in the wild, our public notice or our public hearings are still yellow. You may have seen our community meeting signs are white. Again, we're just trying to distinguish the different types of meetings with the different colors to make it a little bit easier for the public and if they call in. And then our newest sign is our administrative decisions. We've made that a light blue. So again, same signs, still meets all of the requirements, just a little bit easier to distinguish for the public. So if they give us a call, hey, I saw a yellow sign, we know that's a public hearing. Hey, I saw a white sign. And hopefully over time, then the public will get to learn what the colors mean as well to make it a little bit better for them.
So we're still yellow then, pretty much.
Public hearings are still yellow. Yes, as always.
I was thinking green and yellow. It seems to be the template of yellow.
Exactly. We try not to change it too much because people are used to this one. We have a lot of community meeting signs that get put out, so we made those white. Again, important for people to see, but there's no decisions being made here, right? Just informing the public early in the process.
County buildings for those?
I'm sorry?
Okay, community meetings.
After next week's meeting with the board.
Fantastic. What else you got for us?
That's all I have for you at this time. Thank you.
Okay, fantastic. Did everybody get a chance to read the meeting minutes? Any changes, any comments? Hearing none. If you don't mind, I'd look to entertain a motion.
I'll make a motion that we approve the meeting minutes from February 17th, 2026.
Second. All in favor? Aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Here's an interesting question, a point of order, I guess. Dan wasn't here for the 17th meeting, and we don't have a quorum without him.
do we push this to the next meeting or the next round of approval?
I'll tackle that. You do have a quorum for purposes of this meeting, and a majority of that quorum would be 4 or 3 in a lesser case. You have enough people here to approve the minutes as submitted.
Fantastic. Give me a thought here. Okay, with that, the motion passes. And we normally go through the process of opening this for a public hearing for anybody that wants to speak at the matter at hand, or that is not on the meeting agenda tonight. If you have anybody that would like to speak, please step to the podium. If not, we will close public comment and we will move forward.
I have a question. Obviously, my first time here, I'll show my ignorance. Is the meeting today going to include the MF Investment Partners program?
I don't believe so. We're talking about the estates at Cypress Ridge.
I'm sorry?
Please step up to the podium.
That's the same thing.
Same
It is the
thing,
same.
yeah.
Yes, this will be in just a few minutes.
Oh,
Yes.
okay. Thank you.
Fantastic. Thank you.
Okay, with that, turn it back over to Lance, and Lance can take us through wildfire resiliency code.
Thank you. And if I speak too fast or if I miss something that's important to you, please just get my attention as soon as possible because I'll forget what I said, and that's not going to help anyone. So why we're here is in 2023, the state legislature passed some laws that created a Colorado Wildfire Resiliency Board and tasked that board with adopting a code for implementation throughout Colorado. And they were able to finalize that code in 2025. And the way the statute was written either in 2023 or as amended in 2025, all local jurisdictions, to include counties, had 9 months to adopt the Colorado Wildfire Resiliency Code. And so that's what's in front of you right now. The end of that 9-month period is the end of March. We're actually scheduled for a potential Board of County Commissioner hearing 2 days later because of the 4 consecutive weeks of notice that are required between now and then. But we're hoping to get your recommendation tonight to adopt the code that's mandatory. So the code was, again, adopted by the board created by the state. It accomplishes essentially a couple things. And Danny, thanks for pulling up the map. This is the Colorado Wildfire Resiliency Map that's been adopted by the board and the experts. And pulled up on screen there is Elbert County. So the orange is moderate wildfire risk, and the yellow is, I forget the exact term they use, but I think it's mild or low. I think it's low. Yep, low intensity, and then the orange is moderate intensity. And what that means essentially is the state has identified the risk of fire danger. For the yellow areas, the risk of fire danger is lower because the fuels are lower. That's primarily going to be grasslands, things that don't climb. It's not going to be brush or bushes, which climb quickly. It has to do with how high the flames are expected to get and how quickly they may spread. And then the orange, you get into the moderate fuels, flames that are expected to get to consistently roughly 8 feet. That's going to be your shrubs and other stuff, and it's going to be more consistent. For the grasslands, for the mild areas, for the low areas, that can be sporadic. You might have a patch of grass followed by dirt, so it might not spread as easily. But that's the basics of what they came up with on the map. And then the map corresponds to the code in that there are different levels of building code requirements based on the area that your property is within. And it all has to do with the level of protection that the structure or the defensible space will have with respect to your fire zone. So again, that's all defined in the code. The code has been put in your packets. If you're really interested in some of the details, that starts in section 4 of the code, and it breaks down what's required in the low intensity areas versus the moderate intensity areas. If you expand out on the map a little bit, because you just want to see it, you'll see some red areas which are high intensity. Those are not expected to support structures at all. You can see some of the colors are hashed, so you can see some orange, but in a hash mark pattern. That's still orange and moderate intensity, but those are federal lands. So where you see the hash marks outside of Elbert County, same intensity but differently owned. So if it's federally owned, it's the hash marks. If it's solid, it's not, it's private. So the bottom line is the code is required. It is required and it addresses those things. It addresses primarily exteriors of the structures, roofing materials, flashing materials, window materials. How long will they be resistant to fire based on, again, the intensity you find yourself in? What is the defensible space? What's the materials of outbuildings and what's the distance requirements for defensible space for those and habitable structures? That's the point of the code. There's two things that need to be filled in on the code for it to be final, but they're pretty simple. One is the jurisdiction that's adopting it. So the draft you've been given did not fill in the jurisdictional name of Elbert County, but that would be filled in. And the other thing that needs to be filled in is the official, the chief official that's going to be responsible for implementing the code. And so that has not been decided yet, at least finally. It's either going to be the county's chief building official or it's going to be a fire chief. Someone who has some familiarity with what the code is trying to accomplish, and I simply don't have that information to give it to you yet because it hasn't been resolved yet. But other than that, the code that's in front of you, it truly is a form that's expected to be adopted as written with those two additions. I can try and get into specifics, but I think I'll start to fumble mightily if we get very far. But is there any questions about kind of what the code is or whether or not it's required? I can get into why we're here tonight a little bit, and I'll do that if we have time.
No, I think you've made it abundantly clear why we're looking at this. The question becomes, do we agree with this, right? So we all remember Black Forest and some of the other fires that we've had in the neighborhood. We've had some fairly significant forested areas that burned pretty quickly and covered a lot of houses at the same time, because a lot of that stuff on the south side in the zone around Elbert and south is very heavily forested, and there are a number of homes in that area. So the question becomes, should that be a higher rating than the moderate?
A fair question for sure. I'm not the one to be able to answer that, although I understand your concern. I was in Douglas County at the time of the Hayman fire, which was no small fire either, and that there are some areas in Douglas County that are Pike National Forest, and many of those areas burned. So I don't even think Douglas County, you can see a little bit of the red there. That is the Pike National Forest area, that line that kind of goes up the county, and a lot of that area is area that burned. So maybe what you're seeing as moderate burn areas are areas that still haven't reestablished all their fuels, because that still is in the Pike National Forest, but it hasn't fully recovered from the Hayman fire. So I can't speak to what's in the map and why. I don't have the expertise or personal knowledge. There might be mechanisms to try and change the map or to make specific evaluations of individual properties. But for now, this is the map the state has promulgated and says is what is applicable to the code.
Great. And the fire chiefs have all taken a look at this and said, yea, verily, it's good.
I can't speak for all of them, but it is my understanding they're heavily involved in this. I know, what's Kara's last name? Kara Krasinski has come and spoke to the board about this at least once. She's going to be here again next week to talk about it in more detail. She seems to be taking the lead. They are very well informed on the topic, and it's their position that this is mandatory and just something we need to do. I will say there is a statutory mechanism that if you don't agree with some provisions of the code, you can seek approval to have alternate provisions, but that's a process that has to be approved by the state. So I don't have anything I could present to you at this time as far as alternatives to what's in the code. We're kind of stuck with, at this point, the formal draft, and later down the line, we could seek amendments if we felt that was appropriate to do so.
Yeah, I think that makes sense. Because I'm looking at this going, I don't think anybody here on the Planning Commission is qualified to say, you know, that this should be higher or this should be lower. But I do understand risk at pretty intense levels, and I don't think we're qualifying the risk appropriately in some of these areas. The others, yeah, there are some places, even a grass fire though. I've watched a grass fire in a 20, 30 knot wind go and consume a house in a matter of 20 minutes. And it's an interesting thing to watch. But yeah, I think the answer is we probably could go ahead and from the administrative side of this, look at this and say, yeah, we can approve this and move it forward. Are we looking for that level of decision tonight?
I am asking for a recommendation of approval of the code and a certification of the state version. The reason for that is a statutory requirement for adoption of a building code. We really don't know how to classify this. Is this a fire code? Is this a building code? Is it kind of a little bit of both? But we're treating it for purposes of adoption as a building code, a new building code, because this isn't an amendment to a code, it's a standalone Colorado Wildfire Resiliency Code. And so the process is that it must first be presented to the Planning Commission, because it's a code that covers a new area of the county. In this case, it's the entirety of unincorporated Elbert County that it would cover. And it requires a recommendation and a certified copy from the Planning Commission to the county commissioners. So that's what I'm asking for this evening.
Fantastic. Thanks, Lance. Any other questions for Lance?
Yeah, I just had one. Is this also part of the tool sets used by insurance companies to figure out fire or insurance ratings based upon proximity to certain categories of areas within this fire code or within this particular resiliency code map? Do you know?
I can't say for sure. It wouldn't surprise me if insurance companies have maps like this that are a whole lot more detailed that they can use already.
Yeah.
But will they use this as a tool if it helps them in their business cause? Absolutely.
Yeah, all right.
For better or for worse.
Yeah, for better or for worse, yeah.
Kyle, any questions?
No.
Okay. Ken? Dan? Fantastic. I'll entertain a motion to approve this contingency or wildfire resiliency code.
You may want to open
Well,
it for public comment. I don't know if there will be any, but
Sure, open this up for public comment. Any comments from the audience?
thank you.
And we can close that and entertain a motion.
Yeah, Chair, I'd like to make a motion. I make a motion that we recommend approval of the Elbert County Wildfire Resiliency Code that certifies the 2025 Colorado Wildlife Resiliency Code.
Second?
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Motion passed unanimous.
Thank you.
Thank you. And we'll close this. We want to give the folks out on the hallway a minute or two to come in.
If we could take a quick break and start at 7 o'clock for the next item.
Sounds perfect. So we're going to go ahead and call this meeting back to order. And with that, we're going to open the public hearing on the estates of Cypress Ridge preliminary plat, PP 2025-004. And with that, Mr. Klebonner, would you like to start the conversation?
All right, thank you. Good evening, commissioners. As you said, tonight my presentation will be for the Cypress Ridge application, and this is a preliminary plat, and the case is PP 2025-0004. So brief project summary here. The site is located along State Highway 86. It's approximately a half mile east of the Douglas County line and about 3/4 of a mile west of Elizabeth. The site is approximately 421 acres. The zoning is residential 1, and the request is to subdivide the land to create 186 lots ranging from 1 to 3 acres in size. There's approximately 60 lots that are going to be between 1.5 and 3 acres, and then 126 that are between 1 and 1.5 acres. The property owners here are MF Investment Partners, which includes Jim Marshall and Kirby Ross. The applicant representative is John Prestwich with the PCS Group. Here's a look at the entire county, and as you can see, this little blue circle here at the western edge of our property is the site, again about a half-mile east of Douglas County. Moving in here a little bit, you can see the property outlined here in blue. The main roads that border the property are Legacy Ridge Street and State Highway 86. This is a zoning map. As you can see, that white area is the property, and it is zoned residential 1, which allows for 1 acre minimum lot sizes. Surrounding, you have lots ranging in size. The PUD Wild Point, approximately 5 acre lots. Stage Run and Cimarron up there are residential agriculture 1, not a PUD. Those are approximately 5 acre lots as well. And then you have some larger agricultural lots to the north and the west. Here's an aerial of the property. You can see the land here a little bit better, although we're still pretty far out. You can see the large subdivisions and PUD for Wild Point, and then Cimarron and Stage Run. And then a little further to the east, you can see Elizabeth over there to the east. Here's a look at the PUD graphic, the overall site plan. You could see a few of the drainage areas. The large area in the center is going to be open space primarily here, and you can see some connections. We'll get into access, and the overall lot layout here is visible. So this project began March 26th with a pre-application, March 26th of last year, pre-application with a community meeting shortly following April 14th. There were several referrals, June, September, November, and then a few final referral details were being ironed out here in February. Here we are today, March 3rd, for the Planning Commission. The Board of County Commissioners hearing on this is scheduled for next Wednesday, March 11th, and all notice requirements have been met per Elbert County zoning regulations. It's also important to note the project began further, in 2024, and maybe even before that, but the Ridgewood Estates rezone is allowing this preliminary plat to come forward. The Ridgewood Estates rezone, this project has had a few different names, so if you hear Ridgewood Estates or Pine Ridge, these are a couple of the different names that were used for this application. But Ridgewood Estates, that was recommended for approval 6-0 by the Planning Commission on June 4th of 2024 and approved by the Board of County Commissioners with a 3-0 vote back in June of 2024. So getting into access a little bit here, the property will be accessed from a couple of points on Legacy Ridge Street, 2 points, and then Highway 86. The applicant is working with CDOT to fulfill all requirements, and there's been some back and forth there, but resolving most issues. So obviously State Highway 86 is a state highway north of the site, classified as RA, which is a regional highway. It intersects with County Road 3, which is also known as Legacy Ridge Street. And I think the applicant will get into some of the traffic controls going in or potential traffic control, so we'll go into that a little bit. Cherokee Trail is north-south. That's kind of further to the east along the property, that's stop sign controlled, as is County Road 3 currently. And just another note, the anticipated trip volume for the development is about 1,750 vehicle trips on the average weekday at build out. So these are some of the details that we'll get into. Here is a look at access again. So there's these full movement accesses along Legacy Ridge here. This is future signal when warranted. This is Highway 86, full movement access here. And then the interior roads, these will all be built and maintained by a metro district. Another look just to clarify access. This is Legacy Ridge. These are a couple of the access points. And then we have State Highway 86 with this access point up here that goes north-south. Few additional project details. So there is proposed central deep aquifer wells and sewer supported by Metro District and the town of Elizabeth. There's a lift station that's at the north east of the preliminary plat. This is not within any flood hazard zone. There are some wetlands, and the open space follows the wetlands pretty well. Average lot size is about 1.48, so 1.5 acre average lot size. So here are the responding referral agencies. We had several Elbert County departments that responded, along with extensive conversations with CDOT, obviously the Division of Water Resources, Colorado Geologic Survey, Colorado Parks and Wildlife Corps, Kiowa Conservation District, and Elizabeth Fire. Previously, there was a community meeting, and we received a couple of public comments. So in the community meeting, there were 11 residents. A few of the concerns were roads, things like that. We also received 2 public comments this week. One was concerning additional costs associated with Elbert County not accepting roads within a subdivision. The resident said it places a much larger financial burden on the residents of the Metro District. As such, the Metro District will never be dissolved when the bonds for infrastructure and construction are paid off in 30 to 40 years. And then another person believes the lots are too high of a density compared with the 5-acre lots surrounding in the subdivision. So those were the 2 public comments we received this week. So Elbert County subdivision regulations has some review criteria, and I'm going to go over those right now. They come from Article 1C, if you're wondering. So the first is that evidence that a provision has been made for a water supply that is sufficient. So this preliminary plat was reviewed by the Colorado Division of Water Resources, and they had no objections regarding the water sufficiency. In addition, the water supply plan does meet Elbert County's 300-year water supply requirements. The preliminary plat estimates about 56,000 gallons of water per day demand. That's 186 lots and about a 300 gallon per day estimate per lot. B, whether evidence that a provision has been made for sewage disposal. So these proposed lots will be served by central water and central sewer. The deep aquifer wells will be the central water, and then the lift station carrying the sewage to Elizabeth will be the central sewer. The central water and central sewer will be supported by a metropolitan district that's outlined by Article 16 of Elbert County zoning regulations. And again, there is a plan for a lift station in the preliminary plat and plans for water storage that you can see on the preliminary plat. C, whether evidence to show that all areas that may involve soil or topographical conditions presenting hazard have been examined. And there were no existing soil or topographical conditions that presented hazards or required special precautions within the preliminary plat. And soil testing will be required on a lot-by-lot basis for residential construction. Then we have finally D and E, whether the application is in compliance with Elbert County subdivision regulations and Elbert County zoning regulations. This application has been found to be in compliance with the subdivision regulations and zoning regulations. And finally, E, whether the application is consistent with the intent, policies, and goals of the comprehensive plan. So, for this, the proposed preliminary plat is generally consistent with the intent, policies, and goals of Elbert County's comprehensive plan. Residential development goal: Elbert County supports residential development by encouraging a range of lot sizes and residential densities associated with available roads and infrastructure, and by encouraging the designation of open space and the preservation of areas of visual, historic, and natural consequence. Special districts goal: Elbert County encourages the formation of economically sustainable special districts to provide services that are not funded through the county allocations. General community resources: the estates at Cypress Ridge preliminary plat, for the extent that new development necessitates capital public improvements as a result of impacts created by that development, the county may require the developer to finance in a timely fashion constructions of those capital improvements. The county should coordinate with the relevant special districts, authorities, and municipalities to determine the need for such facilities. So moving forward, a few considerations. The first is that the residential 1 zoning for this project was approved back in 2024. Similar, although slightly larger, 5-acre lots surround much of this development, so it's a very residential area already with the PUDs and existing subdivision. There are provisions for the central well and sewer. And there has been quite extensive work with Elizabeth residences. I know this plan has changed through working with Elizabeth, and now it's come to its current form. So there has been work and outreach there, which we do look for. A couple final considerations. Approval of a final plat will be required after this process is complete. If required, a subdivision improvement agreement will be fully executed at the time of the final plat. And again, the adequacy of the water to support this subdivision, that's a very important consideration for us. So that does conclude my presentation for the estates at Cypress Ridge preliminary plat. I'd actually like to add one more thing. Another provision is the 40% open space rule. So tracts, basically tracts account for 27% of the open space, and then the other 13% of open space is through open space easements. So there's basically 175-foot buffer around the south and east side of the property. That's additional open space easement to meet that requirement of 40% open space. So that is an important feature of this preliminary plat as well. So that is all I have, and the applicant is present to speak and answer any questions.
Sure, thank you. Would the applicant like to speak? Again, please introduce yourself and your relationship.
For sure. So good evening, John Prestwich with PCS Group. We're a land planning, landscape architectural firm. I thought it was loud. John Prestwich with PCS Group. We're a land planning, landscape architectural firm in the metro area, 200 Calumet Street, Denver, Colorado, 80223. So thank you for your time this evening, and then thank you also to county staff for guiding us through this step in the process and for their very detailed presentation. I'll try not to repeat what has already been presented, but maybe just highlight a few items. If we could go to the next slide. So I always think it's important to take a quick moment, kind of going in and out, to introduce the team that's been working together to develop this plan. Our team consists of land planners, landscape architects, civil engineers, traffic engineers, water resource engineers, an ecological consultant, and a legal team. This team has been assembled to ensure that this proposal satisfies all of the technical requirements, and the team has a tremendous amount of experience in creating communities throughout Colorado. Next slide, please. So I'm pretty sure everyone knows where the property is at this point, but just to put it in everyone's mind one more time. Cypress Ridge is approximately 420 acres, bounded by Legacy Ridge Street on the west, Highway 86 on the north, and Wild Point to the south and east. As staff noted, the property was zoned R1 in June of 2024. That essentially requires a minimum lot size of 1 acre. So this slide is really an illustrative version of the preliminary plat proposal overlaid on top of an air photo. Again, the proposal is consistent with the R1 zoning and depicts 186 minimum 1 acre lots on the 420 acres. I think as Danny mentioned, there's 126 lots that range in size from 1 to 1.5 acres, and then 60 lots that range in size from 1.5 to over 3 acres, with the larger lots being along the south and east adjacent to the existing Wild Point community. Has been mentioned, we have had meetings with our neighbors. We've discussed items that will be detailed in the final design, such as fencing, lighting, trails, landscaping in general. And what we have discussed is that the intent for the community is to keep it very natural, with natural landscaping that is xeric and low water use, with no on-lot fencing and no trail connections that would conflict with our neighbors, as well as minimal dark sky compliant lighting. This proposal does include the required minimum 40% open space and preserves the natural drainage features to the largest extent and the large stand of ponderosa pines that you see in the central part of the property. All of that is part of the open space network. You can also see highlighted in this slide the 3 full movement locations. And we tried to highlight also the open space easement. You can see it, the light green line along the south and east, as well as some of the other lots. Next slide, please. Oh, there we go. So as part of the review process of the preliminary plat, we have been working with Colorado Parks and Wildlife, and we prepared this exhibit to illustrate how various potential home designs can be situated on these expansive lots and to accommodate some potential corridors that Colorado Parks and Wildlife have requested. Again, we are not anticipating implementing on-lot fencing. And so as part of the final plat, we could further define specific building envelopes to ensure these corridors reflect our commitment to Colorado Parks and Wildlife. These corridors are approximately 300 foot in width, where Colorado Parks has kind of said, hey, we'd like to have access to some of the existing drainages and whatnot. And again, this approach mirrors what we think is a really successful integration seen in the existing homes along the southern boundary of the property. And next slide. So, really, with this presentation and staff's presentation, I think I'd just like to summarize. The proposal, again, is for a preliminary plat that's consistent with the R1 zoning that was unanimously approved in June of 2024. The engineering team has spent almost 2 years working through the details of the preliminary plat with both county staff and referral agencies. Staff and referral agencies have analyzed the proposal in terms of the technical details, as well as complying with all approval criteria, and staff has found the proposal is consistent with the county documents and criteria. Again, this is another step in the process, and a final plat with even more detail is the next step in the process with the county. At this time, we would respectfully request that the Planning Commission recommend approval of the Estates at Cypress Ridge preliminary plat. I'd like to thank you again for your time this evening, and then Jim Marshall would like to say a few words, and then we have our team here and are happy to answer questions. Thank you again.
Jim Marshall, 4091 East Chestnut Court, Greenwood Village, Colorado. Between Danny and John, they did a really good job of explaining this project. I think they've hit all the critical points. I do have Chris McGranahan here tonight, my traffic engineer with LSC. I would like Chris to just explain generally what the access points are going to look like, what we anticipate. We've had numerous conversations with Ally at CDOT on how this is all going to play out. The final plat will have final solutions that CDOT is on board with. So we have an understanding between us and CDOT how this is going to work. It definitely is an important part of the puzzle for us, but again, I think we're really, really close on finalizing details. So I'd like Chris to just talk a few minutes about the accesses, which will hopefully answer any questions that you guys might have. I also have Gina Burke. She's online, I think, isn't she, Jennifer? Yeah. Gina's my water hydrologist, and I do want Gina to just talk about water adequacy. What I will tell you is we have enough water, 300-year water, under this property to serve 4 times the density that we're asking for approval. So we have a lot of water here. And what I want Gina to address is just the aquifers in general. The aquifers are very thick from the surface of the groundwater area down to the bottom. It's almost 3,000 feet, and there's 4 primary aquifers. We'll be drawing our water primarily from the Denver and the Arapahoe aquifers, and we do anticipate drilling 1 well for sure, possibly 2. We are discussing right now with the Elizabeth and 86, which is the commercial metro district for Wild Point, and the commercial area up there, of possibly tying the 2 systems together, which would create redundancy for both projects, and would also generate a bunch of revenue for them from a tap fee standpoint. So we're still working through that. I do have agreement with the town of Elizabeth for the sewer service. There's a draft agreement out there that we've agreed to the terms and conditions of it. We will be going in front of Elizabethtown, the board, at some point here in the next month or 2 to get that agreement finalized. But it does make sense to us to just extend the sewer service from the town of Elizabeth. They've got a system right now that's operating at about 40% capacity. They've got a lot of room. And there's no sense at all in duplicating another sewer system out there. So, Chris, if you want to just say a few words, we'll get Gina to talk, and then we can open it up for questions.
Thanks, Jim. Chris McGranahan, LSC Transportation Consultants. We're at 1889 York Street, Denver, 80206. Danny, can we get a site plan up that shows I think it was the one that showed potential signal when warranted? That would probably be a good site plan, or anything that shows the access points would be good. I can talk from any of those, but yeah, a visual would be much better. That one will work. Okay, so as we've said before, on the top of the screen you have west is on the left, east is on the right. That's State Highway 86. The left edge of the map is County Road 3, Legacy Ridge, and so those 2 full movement arrows are just local T intersections that would serve our property, be stop sign controlled as we come out to the public street. Those 2 western full movements obviously get you to the intersection on State Highway 86 with County Road 3, which is on CDOT's access control plan as a full movement potential traffic signal when warranted intersection. So that's where we may get a signal someday. It'll be pretty far into the project. It may even be after our project's finished, but that's where we feel the signal will be warranted. To the east, you see another full movement that aligns with Cherokee Trail, The reason we lined up with Cherokee there is because that's also on CDOT's access control plan as a full movement potential to be signalized. We don't feel this intersection is going to meet a traffic signal warrant, and we also feel that if we had both of these intersections on the highway, we don't need a signal at both because they're connected. So our proposal, when CDOT seems to be on board with it, is to look at a signal warrant at the west at 3 and have the eastern access be full movement but not have a traffic signal. So folks that live in that area have the choice to turn left from the stop sign to go down to the west, or if they're uncomfortable doing that, they can work their way through our collector road back over to the traffic signal at 3. So the good news is these two access points on the highway meet CDOT's access control plan, so they're not going to push back too hard on us. There's actually a third field access along that eastern frontage that CDOT will make us close as part of this project, which is fine with us because it doesn't really go to anything once the land is redeveloped. So Jim's right. We're in the process with CDOT. We have to go through their access permitting process. I mean, we like to get a little ways through a project before we go into that effort. So I think as we move forward towards final, if we're successful tonight, we will continue those discussions with CDOT. So I'm here to answer any more questions you've got. Jim, I think you wanted to come back up and introduce Gina maybe.
Can we get Gina on? Gina's our water hydrologist, and water's a very big topic in Elbert County, obviously. We want to address the water adequacy of this project and the magnitude of the aquifers that we're dealing with, and answer any questions that you might have on water.
Hi, everybody. Can you guys hear me?
Yes, we can.
Okay, sorry. My name is Gina Burke. I'm with Gen Water Consultants. My address is 348 Lake Dillon Drive in Dillon, Colorado. I am here tonight just to do a quick overview of the water rights for the project. The Cypress Ridge has approximately over 545 acre-feet of usable water rights in the Denver Basin within the Lower Dawson, Denver, Arapahoe, and Laramie Fox Hills. Based on the 300-year rule for Elbert County, that equates to 181 acre-feet a year of usable supply. And we are estimating at this time of this design of the project that the project demands are only about 82 acre-feet a year. So there is more than sufficient water available in the Denver and the Arapahoe. But the developers also have the rights to Lower Dawson and Laramie Fox Hills underlying the property. And I'm here for any questions, and if I went way too fast, I apologize.
Our intent is probably not to do anything in the Lower Dawson, and we definitely won't be doing anything with the Upper Dawson. One thing I'd like to mention about Upper Dawson, the USGS just recently completed their water study for Elbert County, and the one aquifer that it was a little surprising to me, but the Upper Dawson is actually replenishing, and the levels are higher than they were 10 years ago. The good news is that most of the people in Elbert County have Upper Dawson wells. So, and one thing I think that is misunderstood a lot is we do not, when we drill into the Denver or the Arapahoe or even the Laramie Fox Hill like we do at Spring Valley, we don't take any of that Upper Dawson water, none at all. So most of the county residents are in the Upper Dawson. I know there's some people that have Lower Dawson wells, but we don't even go into the Lower Dawson. The town of Elizabeth does, but we don't. So we're not interfering with the bulk of the county residents' water supply.
Thanks, Jim. With that, I'd like to open this up to public comment. And so I don't know if there's a list, whether people have signed in or not, but if there is, great. If you have not and would like to speak, you have 5 minutes. Please state your name, your address, and speak to us, not to the developer, not to the staff, but please feel free to bring your opinions.
My name is Brad Ide. I live at 1110 Legacy Trail. Sure. I actually submitted this an email as one of the public comments in the agenda, but I would like to read the entire thing, a couple more paragraphs, to add more embellishment to his summary of it. As any PUD Metro District / plat is evaluated in Elbert County, one question needs to be addressed for the financial viability of the proposed subdivision. Recently, it appears that the county will not accept roads within the PUD for repair and maintenance. This would include not only the typical repair of potholes and snow plowing, but also the maintenance of signs and the major repair of the road surface, such as repaving. If the county will not accept the roads for the above listed items, the safety of the residents and visitors of the subdivision may be at risk. If the county does not accept the roads, it places a much larger financial burden on the residents of the Metro District. As such, the Metro District will never be dissolved when the bonds for the infrastructure construction are paid off in typically 30 to 40 years. I believe it is necessary that the status of the subdivision roads should be known before the plat is accepted, and if necessary, the financial data submitted with the approval of the Metro District be revised to reflect the additional financial burdens of the residents of the subdivision. The residents of the subdivision will still be required to pay taxes, the mill levy that is levied by the Elbert County Road and Bridge Department, as well as the possibility of the cost of maintenance and repair of the subdivision roads. So that's one item. Item 2, for the traffic issue, I want to know how much the traffic increase may be for Legacy Trail, which is on the south side of the subdivision. And also, I'd like to get into public record the fact that Jim Marshall has agreed at their expense to move the Wild Point Ranch monument, which is located at Legacy Ridge Street and Highway 86, to a different location. Comments, questions?
So thank you for your time, and move on to the next speaker. Anybody else like to make a comment?
Hi, my name's Pat Lutz. I live at 1940 Legacy Trail in Wild Point. My major thing that keeps coming into my head is what's happening on Highway 86? Highway 86 is crowded already. You're going to put another 1,000 cars a day on Highway 86 with maybe one traffic light? I mean, trying to go even to Castle Rock, you have to stand behind a pinky-winky line of cars, you know, that can be going 40 miles an hour. I really would like to know what the plan is for all this growth and a 2-lane highway. That's my question.
Thank you. Anybody else like to speak?
Yeah, Dave Morales, 1210 Legacy Trails. Appreciate the overview for the project. I'd like to know how's it going to be executed in different phases? If someone could speak to that, please. Because I looked on the website and it looked like project phase 1 was going to kick off in 2024. And then phase 2 was 26, 27. Phase 3 was 2030. So I'd like to get an update on that, please.
Next. Would anybody else like to speak? Okay, so at this point, we will close public comment. And would the applicant like to address the questions and comments that were raised.
I think I'll have Chris come back up and reiterate what he's already said about State Highway 86. Obviously, there is increasing traffic. The highway's designed to handle more traffic than it is. We will be, one thing that we didn't say earlier, as part of our plan with our improvements, is we will be creating accel, decel lanes, turn lanes, things like that along Highway 86, just like we did down in the town of Elizabeth when we did the Gold Creek Valley and the Legacy Village projects. But I'll let Chris get into that, and then I'll respond to Brad's comments and the timing comments.
Chris McGranahan again. As I mentioned before, we're going to have to coordinate with CDOT, follow all their plans, all their long-term horizons, access permitting and good stuff like that. I will mention too that this particular property, we actually have a previous iteration project when this was in Elizabeth, and we had 2 or 3 times as many homes, and that traffic study showed that the intersection of 3 and Highway 86 would work quite well with a lot more homes than what we have. And so our project now in the county is a lot less dense. It's 180-ish lots. Before, I think we were around 400 or 500. And so, anyway, sorry about that. So a lot less lots now. We still, the biggest change will be that it'll take us longer to meet a traffic signal warrant because we have fewer homes. But, we're perfectly confident that CDOT is not going to approve anything that doesn't meet their code. And we've been back and forth with them several times. Some of the county staff has been on some of that coordination. So, if we have a good result here tonight, we'll probably dive into that wholeheartedly and take it to the finish line. So I'm here to answer any questions if any of that's not clear, or if you have any questions about CDOT or their process, how we work through it. I'm certainly happy to explain that, but I don't want to bore anybody. So I'll just leave it at that for now.
Chris is actually really good at boring people. On a couple of things, I'll talk to Brad Ide's comments first. The really good news about knowing up front that the county's not going to maintain any roads anymore is that we can plan for it. And Spring Valley, I have the exact opposite situation. We didn't know that the county was going to eliminate the maintenance of roads, so we've had to react to it after the fact without knowing it up front. And it's created some challenges for us, but we've instituted, and which we'll do here too, we've instituted an operating reserve fee that the builders have to pay at the time of building permit to build up reserves so that we do have the money to maintain and operate. We probably will have, and Brad's right, it's going to be more expensive for the homeowners at the end of the day. But we have to disclose to the homeowners, it's a state statute, that they're moving into a metro district. We have to disclose our financial situation, our budgets. It's all public record. We will make sure that we've got the revenues to be able to maintain. And the other thing Brad said that's absolutely correct is as these bonds are paid off over time, typically they're the 30-year bonds. In Parker, when we pay off a 30-year bond, we can dissolve the district because the town of Parker looks after everything. In Elbert County, Elbert County looks after nothing at this point. They don't take our roads, they don't take our water, and they don't take our sewer. So we have to maintain water, sewer, and roads. What's going to happen in the long run out here, Brad and everybody that lives in Wild Point has the benefit of probably being able to pay their bonds down significantly, and maybe even, I don't know, Brad, if you'll ever dissolve your districts either, but the bottom line is these districts will go on in perpetuity because of the maintenance requirements, and the bonds will be refunded, the bonds will be reissued and renewed 20 and 30 years down the road because the homeowners are going to need to be able to maintain their roads properly and rebuild them. So it's something we don't see in most jurisdictions, but again, the fact that we know it up front, we definitely are going to make sure we've got the financial mechanisms in place to be able to do what we need to do, and it will be disclosed. As far as phasing, it will be developed in phases. We have 186 lots. There's approximately 100 lots that are small, 1 acre to 1.5 acres. And then the balance, there's about 86 lots that are 1.5 acres to 3 acres in size. So the game plan right now is to open up the first area of the 1 acre lots first. We're working with a very appropriate builder for this product, a major publicly traded home builder that can deliver velocity and has the ability to perform in the price points that we expect. We doubt that anything will start much less than $800,000, and home prices with options and upgrades will probably go up to $1.5 million and more. So it's going to be a higher end product, which is another good thing for the district and the maintenance, because we're going to have people that generally can afford to live in a more expensive neighborhood. The first phase will likely be right on Highway 86. We don't have the map up anymore, but basically the eastern access point, not this County Road 3 access, but phase 1, we anticipate will build the entire spine road from State Highway 86 all the way through the community to Legacy Trail. So we'll have the spine road in, and then the builder can develop tranches of lots, 30 or 40 at a time. It doesn't make sense to build 150 or 100 lots up front if you're not going to get around to building on them for 2 or 3 or 4 years. So it will be a phased project. As far as the district bonds, we anticipate issuing one bond. Typically what I do is I don't issue my bonds till my plats are approved and my home builder is closed on the land. That's how I get the lowest interest rates and the most amount of capital for the development of the community. The funds that we get from issuing bonds are directly correlated to the interest rate. The lower the interest rate, the more bond money we get. And obviously the higher the rate, the less we get. So we try to maximize our bonding capacities and keep our interest rates as low as possible. Again, we're getting into a lot more detail here, but there will be an assessed valuation created for every house. The mill levy on the service plan for the debt is capped. It's a capped mill levy, and we have an operations mill levy above and beyond the cap on the debt service mill levy. Typically, debt service mill levies Gallagherized, and I don't, Gallagherization is something that people don't generally understand, but it fluctuates as the state's percentage of value versus the actual assessed versus the actual market value decreases, the mill levy rises, and that's what the Gallagher adjustments are. Today, roughly, with Gallagher adjustments, mill levies are running around 70 mills. That's the same as 50 mills was 20 years ago, but because the valuation component of the AV has gone down considerably from about 10% down to, I think we're about 6.5 now. That's why the Gallagher adjustments occur and the mill levies go up so that the tax dollars are neutral. So probably a lot more information than maybe you wanted to hear, but we are cognizant of this. This isn't my first project. Been doing this for almost 40 years, and I think we've got a pretty good handle on what we're doing financially.
And the Wild Point sign or statue?
Yeah, no, Brad's right. And that goes back to probably about 3 or 4 years ago when we were first talking about the first project. And for those of you that don't know, this project initially was in the town of Elizabeth. We annexed it, we zoned it, and we ran into a political issue that we didn't anticipate, and the town of Elizabeth citizens initiated a referendum. They turned down the approvals that the town of Elizabeth Board of Directors had approved, and we were basically back to square one. So we de-annexed, we came to the county, and decided to go with a larger lot community. and we are where we are. So that's a little bit of history for everybody.
Thank you. With that, we'll close the public session, go into board only. And Kyle, would you like to start?
Danny, do you mind pulling up that real pretty colored preliminary plat that they were looking at earlier before? I want to talk about open space. I think either one of those work, or the one on the left previously. There you go. So just for clarification, your easements on the south and east side, you said they're about 175 feet. How much of a majority of that takes up on those larger parcels that you have out there?
How much is the easement of
Yeah,
those
I mean,
lots?
when you look at the northeast corner, right?
Yeah, it's roughly 50% of the overall lot.
So the northeast corner, you're looking at what, 80% then?
Yeah, those are big back there. Yeah, they're bigger, but we're probably 75, something like that.
What does the actual easement entail? I mean, is it buildable?
No. That's the whole idea. The easement restricts any construction of any kind. You can't even put a doghouse on it.
Okay, so then when you're, and I'm not saying I'm opposed to anything, but when you're looking at the northeast corner, you're looking at 75%. How big is those lots? How big are those lots up there?
Those lots are most of them are in the 3 acre range, 2.5 to 3.
But then usable space, you're down to half an acre. Maybe less.
Probably a little more than that, but yeah, you're on the right track.
So my only concern with this is has this been a practice? I guess this is a question for Danny and staff. That open space, a majority of that open space falls within platted lots?
So it's not the majority of the open space. I think there's 20.
This is only 13%, but I'm just saying it definitely fills that 40% requirement.
It hasn't been a standard practice, but it's kind of a creative way to get to that 40% of open space. And I think maybe we'll see more of it with easements. There are some easements that are open space in previous projects, but this is definitely more than commonly seen.
And then per the Elbert County zoning code, this is allowed.
This is an allowable
easement.
Perfect. That's all. Perfect.
Mm-hmm.
Nope. And that's the only question I had for you guys. Thank you.
Hey, Jim. A traffic question. So Legacy County Road 3, I know it is County Road 3. You know, as you are headed north on County Road 3 and are trying to make a left-hand turn, I'm trying to remember, is that a portion of Highway 86 that's going uphill?
Well, I'm not quite sure. I believe so. I'm trying to remember. It's been a while since I looked at it. But, yeah. Well,
is that part pretty flat? It's further west where it starts to go uphill. The only reason why I asked the question is what is the approximate sight line for making a left-hand turn onto 86? How far can they see?
Yeah, well, that'll be part of the CDOT process. Is they not only do we have to meet their access code and their access control plan, but we have to provide turn lane lengths appropriate to the speed limit, which has a grade adjustment factor. So if the grade's more or less than it's more than 3% up or 3% down, our turn lanes get longer or shorter depending on what we're doing. So the sight distance is another thing that's in the CDOT access code. They have a speed limit. They go, it's effectively for a passenger car, it's 10 times the speed limit. So if you have a 55-mile-an-hour road, you have to see 550 feet. Box trucks and tractor trailers, it's a little bit longer, but they sit higher so they can see further.
Right.
So that'll all have to be met with CDOT. So the reason I don't have all your answers yet is that's part of the CDOT process. But we haven't been out there and been worried about it, like, oh my gosh, there's a blind curve here. But we will have to meet the CDOT standards.
Yeah, it is a little hill there because and there's great sight line that way. We're just looking at it on Google Maps right now. What is, if you can explain, which I think would also help members of the audience here, what is the trigger typically? Not saying exactly, but what is the trigger typically for adding a light at that intersection?
Sure, there's 8 different traffic signal warrants. Only 3 of them really have a lot to do with traffic, which is usually the ones we deal with. There's a peak hour warrant,
Right.
4-hour warrant, and an 8-hour warrant. For peak hour warrants, we typically reserve those for schools, giant office complexes like in the tech center in Denver, or like a college campus where everybody comes out all at once. And so you would never meet a 4 or 8-hour warrant, but with 1 hour, without the signal, it's just a quagmire for that hour. So this traffic signal would likely be warranted by a 4 or an 8-hour warrant. The 4-hour warrant, there's a combination of highway traffic and side road traffic that has to meet a certain level. So the busier the highway gets, the less side road traffic you need. The busier the side road gets, the less traffic you need on the highway. So it's a matrix that you have to meet. Those 2 things have to be high enough together. And CDOT doesn't allow us to do speculative warrants for the most part. So they're going to make us come out here and count traffic every year if we have to when it starts getting close and figure out when that warrant's going to be met. The other thing they've told us is that if in our updated traffic studies, as we go through the process, if the signal's warranted at our 176th lot, theoretically, they're going to write the permit for 176 lots, and then we have to prove that the signal's in there or isn't needed to go to the finish line. So in this case, we're not sure where we're going to land yet. I know that it's going to take most of our project to get to the warrant, so our hope is that the signal's warranted sometime after we're finished, so we can just get the whole thing permitted and be ready to put a signal in when it's warranted. So a lot of it's, I say a lot about CDOT. They have a big book. Their access code's like 60 or 70, 80 pages, and it's a lot of teeth in there.
Right.
And so the other thing, they also are looking out for all the other folks out there. So there's a lot more people that use 3 than just our project, obviously. So they're looking out for everybody.
Right.
And so that's part of what the review looks like. And the eastern access is full movement. I mean, theoretically, someone could develop on the north side of the highway and put a signal there. We're just showing that we don't need it and we're not going to be able to. We have our responsibility would be the western signal.
Right. Okay. Mm-hmm. All right. No, good info. Thank you. Mm-hmm. No, that's it. I'm good. Ken?
Yeah, I want to touch on the roads again a little bit more. I guess my concern is just with the Legacy Ridge area, again, with the left there. There is a hill that comes down, so you have limited sight looking left. And most of the traffic in the morning goes left out of Legacy Ridge to go to work. And so are you going to be doing anything with Legacy Ridge, widening that or doing something with that piece of road? And, realistically, when do you think a traffic light would be put in? Because I could see when you have your development all done and, 3/4 of Wild Point is going down that same road, it's going to create a problem in my mind anyway.
Once the signal goes in, you could double the traffic out here and it would be just fine. It's getting the signal that's the question, right?
Yeah.
So CDOT is pretty much a stickler on their warrants. They want a warrant to be met. A lot of agencies we work in, if we get close, they'll say, yeah, you're close enough, you can put the signal in. But with CDOT, their primary function is to keep the road as safe as possible. And contrary to popular belief, traffic signals cause accidents. Just a different type of accident. So we don't want to put a traffic signal in when we don't need one because we're introducing those rear end accidents. We may get rid of the left turn on the main road accident, but now we get the rear end from the person who didn't see the light. So traffic signals, one of the warrants for traffic signals is accident warrant. We don't want to meet that one. We want to meet one of the traffic volume warrants. One of the reasons we're not doing a signal or proposing a signal at the eastern access is we want everybody to come over to 3 to get a signal there. It's possible when this project's finished that we're almost to the point where we meet a warrant, but we're just 5% short. I mean, there would be a discussion we could have with CDOT to say, let's not let the left turn happen at the eastern one and push them over to the western one. Then we meet the warrant. So there's things we could do to work with CDOT to try to get a warrant because they really don't want 2 unsignalized intersections. They'd rather have one of them be signalized because then everybody has a choice to go there at rush hour. Obviously, at This time of night, it'd be fine to turn left anywhere. But rush hour is what we're talking about.
Just to kind of elaborate a little bit, Ken, it's frustrating to work with CDOT because as a developer, it's advantageous to have a signal sometimes, and we can't get them. It took me forever to get that signal at Legacy Circle and McDonald's. That took ages to get that, we paid for that one, but we'll pay for this one too. It is a frustrating process, and like Chris said, one of the traffic warrants is an accident, and I had that situation at Canterbury and Parker years ago. That's the warrant that actually met the signal for Canterbury Parkway and East Main Street. So it is what it is. We can't change it, and if you want to talk about a bureaucracy, CDOT's a good one to talk about.
Thank you. Then I want to go a little bit into the water. You kind of alluded to something going on with Legacy or with Wild Point, and so I guess what are you contemplating? And I know with some of your other developments, at least I've heard, there's some water sharing going on. Is this water going to stay there and just be for this community, or is there other?
First of all,
maybe I'm misinformed.
Just to clarify, Spring Valley doesn't water share with anybody. It's all our water. We have, I think we have 6 wells right now, and we've got 3 under construction right now. So we do not water share. This particular project, we have 2 options. We can we're going to drill a well one way or the other. We can either operate that well by ourselves, or we could try to work with the well, it's the Elizabeth and 86 Commercial Metro District. It does make sense, and I've had meetings with some of the people on that board. I happen to be on that board myself because I own some of that commercial land up there. It does make sense to both the Commercial Metro District and us to combine those 2 water systems. To have an additional well creates more redundancy for everybody, probably lowers the cost of operation for the existing district. The existing commercial district will definitely generate tap fees for them. So it's not, we don't have everything worked out. We don't exactly know how that's going to go just yet. Again, this is a preliminary plat. It's not the final. We won't come to you with a final until we have a workout on the water and an absolute plan. Just like some of the other stuff we've talked about tonight.
Okay, thank you. Then I guess I have a couple of questions for Danny. I noticed in the drainage report, the Phase 2 drainage report, it looked like it was an unsigned version that was in there. Do we have a signed version of that report?
Yeah, we did request a signed version, and I know they provided that, so they did.
Okay.
I actually didn't put together the packet because I just came back yesterday after a long absence, so.
Okay, that's fine, thank you. I guess my only other question was on the wildlife recommendations. I saw there was a number of recommendations, and they were recommendations, so it wasn't you had to do. So I was just curious, this was a June 2025 letter that they had some recommendations. How are you addressing, or what's your anticipation on what you're going to do for what they recommended there?
The next one. So we took those recommendations. They speak to specific lots. Mm-hmm. And so what we did was we created this diagram to show them, hey, look, we can put specific building envelopes and sort of dictate where the homes will sit. And we can get you almost a 300-foot wide corridor through here. And so what we've committed to is working with them through the final plat, and we'll put specific building envelopes on these lots so that we're meeting their concerns about trying to find specific corridors. But that's what this diagram was for, was to show them, hey, look, we can literally get you almost a 300-foot corridor, and they seem amenable to that.
Okay, thank you. That's it for me.
Thanks, Dan.
What is your projected time frame for this project in terms of phase one, and when do you anticipate the final build out being completed?
We're probably several months away from submitting the final plat. We obviously have the final plat is where all the detail is. It's all the plans, it's all the design work is complete, full construction drawings, the whole thing. So if things go well and we can get to final plat hearings and get the project approved later this year, then we also are in a very, very difficult housing market right now. The builders are they're not exactly jumping up and down saying, hey, we need a bunch of lots tomorrow. So there's a lot of factors here. Interest rates are high still, relatively speaking, and Denver has one of the highest home price values in the entire country. We're the highest priced non-coastal housing market in the United States of America, the whole thing. So that's not all good. I mean, that's challenging. So to answer the question, Dan, I think at the end of the day, we would be hoping that we could start construction on phase one sometime early next year. It takes about 8 to 10 months typically to build a phase. You've got water lines, sewer lines. In our case, we've got some backbone infrastructure we'll have to build, drill a well, and that all takes time. So I would expect to maybe see the first homes sometime in early 2028, and then it depends on the market. If things are great, we might sell 4 or 5 units a month. If not so good, it might be 2 or 3. So it could take a year to build out 40 homes. It could take 2 years. It could, if things got really hot like they did after the post-COVID period, then it goes a little bit faster. But I would say for 186 large lots, which are predominantly semi-custom, custom homes, we're probably looking at a 10-year build-out. That would be my guess.
Just one follow-up. From a builder perspective, is there any more desirability on their part to build in an area like Elbert County where you have more of a rural, quality of life as opposed to a Parker or a Castle Rock? Is there an attraction for them to come out here maybe a little bit more readily than otherwise? It's a different buyer, and when you look at the higher end production builders in the metropolitan area and the suburbs like Parker, Castle Rock, and so on, they're selling in those price points, but you're not getting as much house, you're not getting the open space, you're not getting the rural environment, and there is an element of the population that's attractive to. And with, I don't know if you guys are familiar with the Fox Hill project on Flintwood, but look at what they're doing there. That project right now, homes are selling between $2 million and $3.2 million. There was one that closed recently for $3.2 million. We're certainly not anticipating going up into that price point, but we see that buyer, and that project's getting close to built out. So I'm optimistic that we'll be able to attract a reasonable number of people that are going to be attracted to the lifestyle and the product. And the builder that I'm working with right now is absolutely the best builder in Denver to build and deliver higher end housing for those price points.
So I got my usual couple of easy questions to ask. How's the negotiation going with Elizabeth for the sewage?
It's agreed to. We're just waiting on, I've agreed to Corey Hoffman as their attorney, and Corey's drafted an agreement. We've negotiated the agreement, we've agreed to it, and we're just waiting for it to go in front of the town board.
And when will that happen?
hopefully in the next, I'm hoping in the next 6 to 8 weeks. We will have it, and we'll have something done with the town, before we bring the final plat back in.
Got it. I noticed you preserved a lot of the treed area that's in the center of the lots. Is that something that you can show or share? How many trees will have to come down, and then a plan?
We're trying not to take any. I think we've avoided almost all of it, and we actually see that as a pretty nice amenity to the project. So we're not. We basically, John, are we interfering with that at all?
And I think we'll see with the final grading plans, but yeah, that's been the intent all along. The roads, even on the preliminary grading plans, the roads are just kind of cut in, and so you see like a little bit of grading going onto the lots, but that's just to catch the slope. We're not touching it other than that. There might be some drainage improvements. There's probably some cottonwoods that are along the drainages. Some of those may have to go. Just it's relatively steep slopes on some of those, but no, the intent is to keep as many as possible.
Yep. Well, hang out. So yeah, I got a couple more. You mentioned Xeriscape,
yeah.
and I look at this nice rendition. I know it's an artist's rendition of what you think it is, but I see a ton of trees there, and I'm supportive of that. The question becomes, can you truly get to a point where you have that kind of treed lot
on the lots themselves? Yeah, I think so. I mean, as landscape architects, we're doing this a lot. It's very modest drip irrigation to the trees, and it's using native tree species. So there's not going to be like green ash or anything like that out there. We're talking about ponderosas and pinions and things of that nature, and junipers, things of that nature.
But you're already thinking about the irrigation components for that.
Correct, yeah.
Okay, good. Go back to the other slide, the bigger view. Are you discounting, this is probably more of a business question, are you discounting where you have the easements for the open space?
Discounting the value of the lots?
Yeah.
No.
The reason why I ask, and it's probably a dumb question, but I'm looking at it going, if like lot 182 there or 181, it literally looks like you have maybe a third of an acre there that's usable space. You talked about not being able to build even a doghouse. I think were your words.
Yeah, that's what I said. Basically, the builder is going to want to build the home as close to the road as possible. It's, long driveways are a little more of a challenge to plow in the wintertime, even though it doesn't snow here anymore.
So try not to hold that against us.
Yeah. But
or snowstorm.
Yeah, well, usually it's this week. I mean, it's usually the first week of March where we get bombed.
Right.
Yeah, exactly.
But anyways, to answer the question, we'll have pretty standard pricing on the lots. And the building envelopes are still quite large. We're anticipating homes, from the empty nester ranch, high 2s into the low 3s to a 2-story that might go up into the 4s and 5s on a big one. But it's building envelopes are going to be large enough, obviously, to build pretty much what anybody wants. And on 182 and 181 are good examples. Nobody's going to want their house right back up against the boundary there. It's just
definitely
too big a driveway. And
but
I think
the question becomes how much of it's usable on a certain point.
Well, and that's the other challenge because this is a large lot community. We're not looking at a massive overlot grading program here. We're trying to maintain as much of the natural vegetation and ground as we can. And from the builder's standpoint, they don't want to have to go and grade. To mass grade this entire site would make no sense at all. Just doesn't make sense. You can do pad grading, basically.
Love hearing that, by the way. Just a question for Danny. I noticed that we had a couple of missing elements associated with the amount of sewage flow. Did we ever get to a number on that? Did that
I
enter into the notes?
I
It's
think
supposed to
there
be-
was a number. I think the number was something like 27,000 gallons a day, which maybe I'm off, but that's what I think I saw. Maybe it was higher than that. I'm not sure. I'd have to go back and look at it.
Is that a good estimate? Yeah, they made the mistake of educating us on sewage flow, and so I, of course, went into my calculator and said, okay, so in this organization, it would probably be closer to 55. And because I assumed 186 lots, probably an average of 4 bedrooms, and they're counting it at 4 person each, and at 75 gallons per person, that becomes a good chunk of sewage.
And it obviously is a function of fixture counts and population in the house.
Of
and all
course,
that kind of
yeah.
stuff. But it's not a perfect science. I'm trying to remember what our production is at Spring Valley. We have almost 900 homes out there now.
Right.
And I don't have my water sewer guy here tonight, but it's actually a lot less than what you would expect. I want to say we're around I don't remember the number exactly. I'm just guessing right now. So, but the good thing is with the town has a boatload of capacity, and more than they even know what to do with. Their system is actually inefficient right now. They don't have the revenues that they need to maintain it properly, and adding our 186 lots to the town's system it's useful for them. It helps them. But they'll still only be operating, 50-55% capacity. And there's not a lot of, other than the Gold Creek Commons deal that's kind of going through the system right now that was zoned a long time ago, there's not much on the horizon for the town of Elizabeth to grow that system or to fill that system.
Thank you. I don't have any other questions. Dan?
Kevin mentioned removal of trees.
Can you turn the...
There you go. I'm out of practice a little bit. Are you familiar with our existing tree regulation regarding the removal of mature trees? And have you taken that into account, with your kind of estimation of how you're going to proceed regarding the trees?
Yeah, we're obviously aware of it, and the exhibit that John showed a few minutes ago, we do anticipating trees. We can use the drip irrigation system, which doesn't use a lot of water. That's one thing I didn't address that I wanted to, is we are looking at drought tolerant species for the most part, more of a almost like a desert landscape. We're going to see a lot more hardscape with rocks and pebbles and stones and stuff like that. A lot less irrigated turf. One of the things that people are using now is, it seems to be growing in popularity, is these really high-grade synthetic turfs. They don't require any water at all. So we're trying to minimize our irrigation requirements going forward. And we're doing that on other projects that we're working on too. So it's we're very aware of it, though.
Any additional questions, Dan? Any other last-minute questions? With that, I'll entertain a motion.
I'd like to make a motion that the Planning Commission recommend approval for the estates at Cypress Ridge preliminary plat PP-2025-0004 with the conditions that were mentioned by staff's presentation.
Second. Let's get a roll call vote.
Roll call vote. Ken Madsen,
Aye.
Dan McCallan,
Aye.
Kyle DiNardo,
Aye.
Robert Politic,
Aye.
Kevin Kirkwood.
The ayes have it.
Yes, Chairman, you have ayes are 5, nays 0.
Thank you. With that, I'll entertain a motion to adjourn.
Mr. Chair, motion to adjourn.
I'll second.
All in favor?
Aye.
All opposed?
May I give you all 2 updates real quick? I'm still going to tell you.
Yeah, please, go ahead.
You have scheduled a work session on the comp plan future land use map for the end of this month on Tuesday, March 31st. That would be here in this room at 6 o'clock. Obviously, we'll send out a lot more details, and you all can expect some emails from the consultants in the next 2 weeks. Probably several emails, so be on the lookout for those. And if you don't see anything, please let me know. After that, your next regular meeting is scheduled for April 7th, that first Tuesday in April. Please note that will be in the Ag Building. And we will not have a guest speaker that night, just in anticipation of a fairly robust public hearing. Yes.
But please ask Blake to take off his rose-colored glasses for the land use, if you don't mind.
Okay, will do.